Hello and welcome to Witness. I'm Raggy Omar. Colombia has been at war for more than 4 decades. It's a dirty war with no clear front lines and no safe refuge. Caught between the opposing forces of leftist guerrillas, narco-traffickers, paramilitaries and government soldiers, innocent people are often the first to die. Faced with such uncertainty, the people of San José de Apartador chose a dangerous course of action. They became a peace community. Peace communities struggle to remain neutral in this violent conflict because the situation is so volatile. Foreign activists often choose to live with local peace communities like human shields in the hope that their presence will deter further acts of violence. It didn't help the people of San José de Apartador. Renata Rendon is an American peace activist who recorded the friends she made and lost during her stay in Colombia. Viewers may find some scenes disturbing, but they are the only evidence of what actually took place there. Diary of a Massacre.
I am a witness to the aftermath of a massacre so horrifying that even today the images continue to haunt me. A massacre that exposes the horror that is Colombia's civil war. A massacre that lays bare the danger of neutrality in armed conflict. A massacre committed by murderers who know they will likely never be called to account. My name is Renata Rendon, and this is the story of the peace community of San José de Apartador, where I lived for 6 months as a human rights observer. There are over a dozen communities in the country living by the same principles, born as a response to a half-century-old civil war that has claimed the lives of thousands of innocent civilians. Peace communities are committed to the principles of nonviolence in a country where 3 major factions are constantly at war. They are the FARC guerrilla group, currently holding hundreds of hostages, including high-profile Colombian politicians. The paramilitaries, now chiefly mercenaries and drug lords. And the Colombian military, which has received billions of dollars in aid from the US and has a long history of collusion with paramilitary death squads. Trapped in the middle of this triangle of violence are Colombia's civilians, often targeted by the armed groups in an effort to terrorize them into submission. And that's why, about 10 years ago, the people of the town of San José de Apartador declared themselves a peace community. The community committed itself to neutrality and vowed not to carry arms, even for self-defense. They would not share information with any armed group. But in Colombia, neutrality offers little protection. In fact, it can make you a target. By not taking sides, the people are viewed suspiciously by all armed groups. Complicating matters is that the peace community of San José de Apartador is located in the Urabá region, where Central and South America unite. It's a gateway for drugs going north and arms going south. These are some of the images I captured while living among some of the most beautiful people I have ever met.
¡Mira esa!
The community is well organized, electing its own governing council, where even young people are allowed to vote. This is Hildardo and Ivan, peace community members. And this is Luis Eduardo Guerra, a co-founder of the peace community who would later become a target. Many of the peace community leaders are targets, and that is why international human rights observers living in the community are often the only protection they have from being murdered. Overwhelmingly, our presence is protective, but one day, the limitations of our work became painfully obvious. Everything changed. It began on the evening of February 23, 2005, when a farmer ran down from the mountains into the village and told peace community leaders that 8 people had been killed. It wasn't the first time. More than 160 members of the peace community have been murdered over the past 10 years. The community spent the next day organizing a group to hike to the scene to search for the bodies. 100 peace community members and 5 human rights observers set out before sunrise. I kept my camera rolling. We hiked for 7 hours through muddy, rugged terrain to reach the home of Alfonso Bolivar. Inside, clothes were scattered about, and there was dried blood on the floor and what appeared to be a bloody footprint. Outside, there was what appeared to be a shallow grave covered by leaves. As government forensic officials dug, the smell intensified. The first thing they pulled out of the grave was an adult torso with no head, arms, or legs. They then pulled out 2 more torsos and the bodies of 2 children. At this point, one of the government investigators ordered me to stop videotaping. 3 bodies were still missing. We went to search for them, and I turned my camera back on. Not far away, near a river, we found a skull. And then the tortured bodies of Luis Eduardo Guerra, the community leader, and his partner and 11-year-old son. Partially hidden near the bodies, this machete, the probable murder weapon used to hack the family to death. Witnesses say the Colombian Army's 17th Brigade committed the massacre. No surprise. Peace community members say the military and their paramilitary allies are responsible for the majority of the 160 killings in the past 10 years. But before an investigation of the massacre even began, Colombia's president, Álvaro Uribe, denied the military's involvement, blaming instead the FARC guerrilla group. At the funeral, I felt compelled to do my part, to show the world the constant struggle the peace community is faced with every day. With my mind still reeling from what I had just witnessed, my stay in the community ended, and I returned to the United States a changed person. The images of tremendous suffering seared in my memory. But I wondered endlessly what would become of the peace community of San Jose de Apartado. Were the leaders still facing death threats? Had more people been killed? And ultimately, I was drawn back to find out.
Renata was determined not to let these appalling acts of violence intimidate her and went back to Colombia 1 year later to confront her ghosts and memories. Join me for the rest of her story after the break.